Corrin's small hands trembled as the citadel shook beneath him. Sparks rained from the ceiling and twisted metal groaned like it was alive. Somewhere above, the Dragon King roared, a sound so deep it rattled Corrin's chest. Flames danced along the broken walls, licking the edges of the massive windows, and the acrid smell of smoke burned his nose. He knew he shouldn't be here, scavenging scraps in the lower decks, but curiosity had driven him forward, and now the danger pressed close. Through a jagged crack in the wall, Corrin saw him, the Dragon King. Scales black as night shimmered with streaks of silver, wings tattered but still vast, claws embedded in the edge of a crumbling platform. The king's eyes, glowing faintly like dying stars, scanned the battlefield above. Alien hunters, sleek and metallic, swooped through the air with blinding speed, their weapons firing bolts of energy that shredded the sky. Corrin's breath caught. He had never seen anything so powerful, and so alone. Something moved at his feet, a shard of alien tech humming faintly, glowing blue. Corrin reached for it instinctively. The moment his fingers brushed it, a pulse shot through him. It was strange, almost warm, and he felt a sudden tug in his chest. The Dragon King flinched, turning toward him with a hint of recognition. Corrin froze. Why had the king's gaze shifted to him? He didn't know, but fear didn't slow his feet. He ran. The corridor ahead twisted into shadows, and the walls shivered under the citadel's collapse. Corrin ducked under a falling beam, rolling just as it crashed where he had been standing. Sparks flew from his jacket, but he didn't stop. He could hear the distant thrum of the Dragon King's last defenses failing. Something had to be done, though he didn't know what. He was just a boy, a janitor's son, but he didn't run for himself. He ran because he had seen someone in need. In the chaos, a low growl echoed through the deck. Corrin froze again. From the shadows, a creature emerged, its shape unfamiliar, part dragon, part alien. It had shimmering scales like the Dragon King but smaller, almost fragile-looking. Its eyes, large and intelligent, locked on him. The boy held his ground, sensing no immediate threat. The creature tilted its head, a sound like a mix of growl and question leaving its throat. Corrin's heart raced. It was alone too, but unlike the hunters above, it didn't attack. Instead, it stepped closer, cautious yet curious. The boy thought fast. If he could move silently, he might lure the creature to the platform where the Dragon King struggled. Maybe, somehow, it could help. He whispered, "Come on, follow me." To his surprise, it obeyed, trailing him with a grace that made Corrin's pulse spike with both awe and fear. Every step counted. One wrong move, one false sound, and the alien hunters would find him. The floor vibrated violently as another wave of energy blasts tore through the upper decks, sending debris raining down. One shard, glowing with alien power, bounced off the railing just inches from his head. Corrin ducked, pressed his back to the wall and swallowed his panic. Finally, they reached a small observation deck, a place Corrin had never noticed before. From here, he could see the Dragon King clearly, struggling to lift himself against the alien onslaught. The boy's pulse quickened. He wasn't strong, but he could act. He picked up a jagged piece of metal, a shard from the collapsed walls, and jammed it into the control panel of a dormant energy turret nearby. Sparks flew. The turret hummed to life. A burst of energy shot toward the hunters above, hitting one directly. The boy's quick thinking had bought a small reprieve. One alien hunter twisted midair and fell, its body smoking. A tiny victory, but it mattered. The Dragon King's roar turned, acknowledging the action. Then a sudden, sharp pulse coursed through the air. The glowing shard Corrin had touched earlier flared, shooting a beam that carved a jagged path toward him. The creature hissed, curling protectively around him. Corrin stumbled back, heart hammering. The Dragon King's voice, faint but real, rumbled in his mind, "Do not falter, the bond remains." Corrin's eyes widened. Bond? Connection? He didn't understand, but he felt it, a pull, a tug, a thread linking him to the king. And before he could react further, the observation deck shuddered violently. A massive piece of the ceiling cracked loose, tilting downward like a falling wall. Corrin froze. There was no time to think. Every instinct screamed, survive, act, move. He glanced at the creature. It growled, almost warning him. And then the first pieces of ceiling began to drop. Corrin gritted his teeth. He stepped forward, toward the Dragon King, toward danger he didn't fully understand, gripping the shard of alien tech. Flames flickered around him, debris rattled, and the alien hunters screamed in the distance. Somehow he had to reach the king. Somehow he had to help. Somehow, a human child might change the fate of a god. Then, with a thunderous crash, the floor beneath his feet cracked open, sending him sliding toward darkness. And he was gone. Corrin tumbled into darkness, the world spinning around him. Dust and small rocks rained down, scraping his arms and legs. He slammed against the far wall of the lower shaft, pain shooting through his shoulder. The shard of alien tech clattered from his hand but glowed faintly on the ground. He scrambled for it, gripping it tightly once more. Its pulse was steady now, almost alive, as if it knew he needed it. Somehow, this tiny object felt like a lifeline, and he needed every bit of luck he could get. He crawled through the debris, the air thick with smoke and the acrid smell of burning metal. The citadel above was collapsing, but he couldn't stop to watch. Every vibration of the floor above sent tremors through the tunnels, and he could hear the faint shrieks of alien hunters, scanning for him. His heart pounded, but he forced himself to focus. One wrong move, one careless noise, and it would all end. A faint light shimmered ahead. Corrin paused, listening. The low growl of the creature he had freed earlier echoed from behind him. It padded softly, its claws clicking against the metal floor. Somehow, it had followed him through the darkness, guided by instinct or perhaps something deeper he didn't understand. Corrin's fear eased slightly. He wasn't entirely alone. The tunnel opened into a small chamber. Broken machinery hummed and sparked along the walls. Corrin's eyes widened. He could use this. Using the glowing shard, he tapped into the alien circuits and a panel flickered to life. A weak energy shield popped up, surrounding him and the creature in a faint, shimmering bubble. It was fragile, barely enough to stop a few energy bolts, but it gave him a moment to breathe. Small victories, he reminded himself, mattered. Suddenly the chamber shook violently. A beam of energy pierced through the wall, scorching the floor inches from him. The alien hunters had discovered his location. Corrin's mind raced. He needed a plan, and fast. He grabbed a piece of twisted metal from the floor and jammed it into another inactive panel. Sparks flew, lights flickered, and a mechanical trap sprung open. A small explosion sent one of the hunters tumbling down a shaft. A tiny wind, but enough to slow them. Corrin's chest heaved with adrenaline. The creature hissed, sensing more movement. From the shadows, another being emerged, smaller, more alien than the first, with glimmering scales and multiple eyes reflecting the faint light. Paused, studying Corrin. His pulse quickened. Was it friend or foe? He raised his hand slowly, trying not to provoke it. The creature blinked, and then, unexpectedly, it backed away, leaving a narrow path to a stairwell. Corrin didn't hesitate. He grabbed the creature's tail gently and nudged it forward. "We move," he whispered. Together they climbed the stairwell, the walls rattling with every step. Alien energy blasts tore through the floor above, sending more debris down. A piece of the railing broke loose, forcing Corrin to leap over the gap. His hands scraped metal, his shoulders screamed, but he landed on the other side. Another small win. He kept moving, adrenaline sharpening his senses. The corridor narrowed, leading to a maintenance hatch. Corrin squeezed through, the creature following closely. On the other side, the space opened into an even stranger chamber. A hidden alcove filled with faintly glowing crystals, their light pulsing like hearts. Corrin's eyes widened. The glow illuminated etched markings along the walls, symbols he didn't understand. The chamber felt alive, almost aware of his presence. A sudden vibration made him spin. The ceiling above the alcove cracked and a small shard fell. Instinctively, Corrin grabbed it and realized it fit perfectly into the glowing crystals, activating a faint energy stream. The crystals shifted, forming a protective barrier around him and the creature. Another small victory, but fleeting. He could hear the aliens closing in, their screeching voices bouncing off the walls. Corrin's mind raced. He had survived this long through luck and quick thinking, but he needed a way to reach the Dragon King, to help him before the final attacks destroyed everything. His fingers brushed the glowing shard again. It pulsed strongly, almost like it was responding to him. Could it guide him? He didn't understand how, but he had no choice. He followed the faint energy trail, moving deeper into the labyrinth, the creature moving silently beside him. Then a voice echoed through the chamber, low and deep, almost vibrating in his chest. "Human, child?" Corrin froze. The voice was faint but unmistakable. The Dragon King. Alive, or at least part of him. Somehow the connection had been maintained even through the chaos. Corrin's heart leapt. He wasn't just running blindly, he had a purpose. As he advanced, another wave of debris crashed from the ceiling. The crystals trembled, threatening to collapse. The creature roared, leaping forward and shielding Corrin with its body. Rocks rained down and the boy's mind raced. One wrong move could trap him forever. He dug his fingers into the shard of alien tech, pressing it to the floor. A pulse shot out, sending the falling debris away in a brief shockwave. It worked, just enough to keep them safe. Another small victory, another spark of hope. Breathing hard, Corrin looked at the creature. It met his gaze, unspoken understanding passing between them. They weren't just survivors. They were partners in something bigger, something they didn't yet understand. But before he could process further, a metallic screech echoed through the tunnels. The alien hunters had split into a new squad, and their eyes glowed with calculated menace. Corrin swallowed. He had survived so far, outsmarted one squad and reached this hidden chamber, but the danger was far from over. He gripped the shard, glanced at the creature and whispered, "We go forward. No turning back." Then from the shadows a strange figure emerged, taller than any alien hunter he had seen, cloaked in darkness, with energy radiating from its body. It stopped, studying him. Corrin's stomach dropped. This was no ordinary hunter. Whatever this was, it was alive, and it was waiting for him. Corrin took a deep breath, steeling himself. Every instinct screamed to run, but he knew he couldn't. He had to face it, to survive, to reach the Dragon King. And then the figure moved forward, faster than his eyes could track. Corrin barely had time to react before he realized he was not the hunter anymore. He had become the hunted. Corrin ran through the winding corridors, his legs trembling with exhaustion, the creature close behind. The strange figure loomed ahead, moving with unnatural speed, its glowing eyes cutting through the shadows like knives. Corrin pressed the glowing shard to his chest, feeling it pulse with warmth, almost guiding him. He didn't know how it worked, but instinct told him it was more than a tool. It was a key. The figure lunged, but Corrin ducked, rolling under its outstretched claws. Sparks flew as the shards of alien energy scattered across the floor. He scrambled to his feet and sprinted toward a narrow tunnel that led deeper into the citadel's hidden depths. The figure hesitated at the entrance as if sensing something he didn't, before turning back toward the main hall. Corrin's heart hammered. He had survived, barely, but the danger was far from over. Ahead, the tunnel opened into a chamber unlike any he had seen. The walls were lined with glowing panels, etched with symbols that shimmered like liquid metal. In the center of the room, floating just above the ground, was a large crystalline sphere. Light poured from it in waves, illuminating the entire chamber. Corrin froze. The sphere pulsed in rhythm with the shard he carried, and suddenly, the voice of the Dragon King echoed in his mind, stronger this time. "Child, the path lies within." Corrin stepped closer, cautious but driven. The sphere shifted slightly as he approached, revealing a faint image within. The Dragon King, alive, or at least part of him, trapped in some kind of energy matrix. The king's eyes were closed, yet they radiated power and urgency. Corrin's pulse quickened. He had stumbled upon something far greater than he imagined, a secret left by the Dragon King himself. Instinctively, Corrin pressed the shard into a small indentation at the base of the sphere. The panels on the walls flickered, and a stream of data poured into the room like liquid light. Symbols rearranged themselves, forming a pattern that the boy could almost understand. Images flashed. Battles, alien fleets, the Dragon King protecting distant planets, and finally humans, his ancestors, being spared in a siege long ago. A shock ran through him. The Dragon King had once saved humans. He himself was connected to that act. The chamber shuddered violently. Alien hunters burst in, energy rifles firing in waves. Corrin ducked behind the sphere, gripping the shard. The creature leapt forward, its claws slashing, pushing the attackers back just enough for Corrin to act. He realized the panels weren't just decorative, they were part of a defense system. With quick thinking, he pressed several shards into sockets along the walls. Energy beams shot out, intercepting the hunters' fire, shielding them for precious seconds. Corrin's mind raced. If he could unlock the core fully, he might reach the Dragon King. Sweat dripped down his face as he placed the final shard into the main socket. A blinding pulse erupted from the sphere, forcing the aliens to stagger back. The Dragon King's voice filled his mind, stronger than ever. "You are the one. The legacy continues." Corrin staggered, almost falling under the weight of the connection. He understood now, he wasn't just a child caught in a war. He was the key, the human who could finish what the Dragon King had started. A sudden shock jolted through the chamber. The crystal sphere split slightly, revealing a hidden doorway behind it. Corrin's eyes widened. Beyond lay a spiraling staircase descending into darkness. A sense of purpose surged through him. He had to go down there. Whatever waited below, it was part of the Dragon King's secret. A test, a trap, or perhaps the final piece to save him. The aliens were regrouping. The figure that had pursued him earlier appeared at the chamber's entrance, moving with deadly precision. Corrin didn't hesitate. He grabbed the creature's tail and leapt toward the hidden staircase, narrowly avoiding a sweep of glowing energy. The staircase spiraled down into the depths of the citadel, shadows stretching like living things. Corrin's heart pounded, but determination surged. He was no longer running blindly, he had a purpose, a mission that could change everything. Halfway down, Corrin noticed strange markings along the walls, etched by some intelligent hand, glowing faintly in response to the shard. They weren't just symbols, they were instructions guiding him. Each step he took revealed more of the Dragon King's plan. A chamber below, capable of amplifying energy, perhaps even reversing the alien onslaught. Corrin realized the shard wasn't just a key, it was part of the Dragon King's defense, designed to respond to human touch, human choice, human courage. Then, without warning, the floor beneath him shook violently. Rocks and debris tumbled down the spiral staircase. Corrin barely held on, clutching the shard and the creature as they slid down the final steps. At the bottom, the chamber opened into a vast hall filled with energy conduits stretching like veins across the walls and ceiling. At the center, a massive console pulsed with alien energy. Corrin approached cautiously, his hands shaking, the creature circling protectively. The console responded instantly to the shard. Lights danced across the room, forming a network that seemed to reach the Dragon King himself. A holographic figure flickered into view, an alien sentinel, massive and intimidating, guarding the core. Its eyes glowed red, scanning. Corrin realized this was the final test, a guardian meant to stop anyone from accessing the Dragon King's secret. He swallowed hard. Fear threatened to paralyze him, but he clenched the shard. Every lesson so far, the quick thinking, the small victories, the courage to act, led to this moment. He couldn't fail. Corrin stepped forward, ready to face the sentinel. The creature growled low, a warning, but stayed by his side. Together they were the only hope for the Dragon King. Then a sudden pulse shot through the chamber. The sentinel's body twisted, energy surging outward. Corrin staggered, almost thrown off his feet. The shard flared bright, resonating with the Dragon King's power. A voice, powerful and commanding, filled his mind. "Human, the final step, your choice will shape the future." Corrin's eyes widened. He realized he was standing on the threshold of something far greater than survival. His next move wouldn't just save him, it could save the Dragon King, the Citadel, perhaps even the galaxy. And yet, the risk was unimaginable. One wrong action and it could all end. Corrin took a deep breath, gripping the shard tightly. He glanced at the creature, then back at the sentinel. His heart pounded, but his mind was clear. He had a purpose now, a connection to a being more powerful than any human or alien. And then the alien sentinel lunged. Corrin's heart thundered in his chest as the alien sentinel lunged. Its massive claws shimmered with energy, and the hall vibrated with the force of its movement. The shard in Corrin's hand pulsed fiercely, almost alive, as if reacting to the danger. He didn't have time to think. Every second counted. Survival wasn't enough anymore, he had to act. The creature hissed, positioning itself between Corrin and the sentinel, its scales glowing faintly. Corrin realized it wasn't just a guardian. It trusted him, and now they had to fight together. He dropped low, using the console's energy conduits as cover, dodging the sentinel's strike. Sparks erupted where its claws struck the floor, and Corrin felt the heat on his face. The hall seemed to shrink around him, the pulsating energy weaving a maze of danger and opportunity. He lunged for one of the smaller conduits, shoving the shard into an opening. A beam of energy shot out, striking the sentinel. It recoiled, letting out a scream that shook the chamber. Corrin's heart leapt. One small victory, but it gave him a fraction of a second to plan. The sentinel was powerful, but it was also calculated. It reacted to the shard's energy. He had to use that. Corrin darted along the conduits, his movements precise. He pressed the shard into one socket after another, redirecting energy beams that slammed into the sentinel repeatedly. The creature leapt onto the sentinel's back, clawing at its armor and creating openings. Corrin's mind raced. Each action had consequences, and he had to chain them perfectly. One misstep, one misfire, and the alien would crush them both. The sentinel's eyes glowed brighter, and it roared, unleashing a shockwave that sent Corrin sliding across the floor. Pain shot through his shoulder, but he forced himself to roll and get back on his feet. The creature growled beside him, shaking off a spark that had landed on its scales. Corrin gritted his teeth. Fear surged, but determination surged stronger. He had come too far, and the Dragon King's life, the Citadel, the Shard, it all depended on him. He spotted a large energy core at the center of the hall. If he could redirect the shard's energy there, he might amplify the beams enough to overpower the sentinel. But it was a risk. The core was unstable. One wrong move could trigger an explosion that would destroy everything. Corrin glanced at the creature. Its eyes seemed to say, "We trust you." That was enough. He sprinted toward the core, dodging slashes and energy pulses from the sentinel. Sparks flew, lights flickered, and the floor shook under the creature's weight as it leapt and lunged to buy him space. Corrin reached the core and jammed the shard into a recessed slot. Energy surged violently, enveloping the hall in a blinding light. The sentinel roared, thrashing as beams of amplified power struck it from every angle. Corrin pressed himself to the floor, shielding his face from the blinding energy. The creature howled, clinging to the sentinel, and a massive pulse shook the chamber. Then silence. Smoke curled from the sentinel's form, and it crumpled to the ground, incapacitated but not destroyed. Corrin's chest heaved. He had done it. His quick thinking, courage, and determination had turned the impossible odds in his favor. But there was no time to celebrate. From the console, a holographic map flickered to life, showing distant star systems marked in red. Corrin's eyes widened. The Dragon King's voice echoed in his mind, weak but filled with gratitude. "You have done what I could not. But the threat, it is only beginning." Corrin staggered toward the console, gripping the shard. The creature pressed against his side, sensing his exhaustion. He had faced the sentinel, used his intelligence and courage, and survived. But now the scale of the threat became terrifyingly clear. The galaxy itself might be at risk, and only a human, seemingly insignificant, had the power to intervene. He turned back to the Dragon King, whose energy flickered weakly in the distant matrix. The king's eyes glimmered with pride, though the pain of his wounds was evident. Corrin felt a surge of emotion, fear, awe, and determination all mixed together. He had been a janitor's son, a boy scavenging scraps, and now he was the key to saving not just the Dragon King, but perhaps countless worlds. Suddenly the energy conduits shifted violently. Sparks rained down and the floor trembled. Corrin barely managed to pull the shard free from the core slot. A massive beam shot toward the ceiling, and a section of the hall collapsed, blocking the exit. The creature growled, nudging him toward a smaller tunnel that had opened. Corrin realized they had only survived because he acted quickly, but the danger was far from over. As he ran, he glimpsed something strange in the debris, a fragment of alien technology unlike anything he had seen. It pulsed with a rhythm that matched the shard in his hand. Corrin's mind raced. Was it another key? Another part of the Dragon King's plan? Or a trap, waiting for him to stumble? He didn't have time to answer. He had to keep moving. The creature leapt ahead, leading him through twisting corridors and hidden passages. Corrin's muscles burned, but he followed, driven by purpose. Every step he took was a statement. Humans could act when others faltered, humans could think and adapt, humans could shine in the darkest moments. The shard pulsed with light, guiding him deeper into the citadel. Then from the shadows a new sound reached his ears, a low, vibrating hum, deeper and more dangerous than any alien hunter or sentinel he had faced. The creature froze, ears raised. Corrin stopped, gripping the shard tightly. Something was coming, and it wasn't human, it wasn't alien, it was something else entirely. Corrin swallowed hard. His chest ached, his shoulder throbbed, but he didn't falter. He had survived impossible odds before. He would survive this too. But whatever was approaching, it was far beyond anything he had faced. And then from the darkness ahead, two glowing eyes appeared, massive and unblinking, fixed on him. Corrin's breath came in ragged gasps as the glowing eyes fixed on him. The tunnel walls vibrated with the low hum of a presence that felt impossibly ancient, impossibly powerful. The creature pressed itself against his side, growling low, but it didn't run. Neither would he. Every instinct in his body screamed danger, yet Corrin stepped forward, gripping the shard tightly. He had survived sentinels, alien hunters, collapsing citadels, he could face this too. The eyes blinked once, then focused. The figure emerged from the shadows, massive and serpentine, scales shimmering like liquid starlight. It moved with a grace that belied its size, and its voice, when it spoke, resonated inside Corrin's chest rather than through his ears. "Human, child, why do you enter where others fail?" Corrin swallowed hard. I came to help," he said, his voice steady despite the fear clawing at him. "The Dragon King, he needs me. You won't stop me." The creature tilted its massive head. "Many have tried. None succeeded. Yet you," its voice was almost curious, not angry. You carry the shard and the courage of your kind. Corrin's fingers tightened on the glowing crystal. He realized now that every step, every small victory, every choice had prepared him for this. He wasn't just a boy. He was the one meant to finish what others could not. I won't fail, he whispered. The creature's gaze softened, almost imperceptibly. Then it moved aside, revealing a massive chamber ahead. Energy flowed in arcs across the walls, converging on a large containment field. Inside, the Dragon King floated, his massive form flickering like a dying star. Scars ran along his scales, wings partially folded, eyes closed, but alive. Corrin's chest tightened. The king had endured so much, and now it was his turn to repay that debt. The shard pulsed in Corrin's hand, vibrating with the rhythm of the energy field. He approached carefully, placing the crystal into a socket at the center of the containment field. Light shot out, connecting the shard to the Dragon King. A surge of warmth pulsed through Corrin, and he felt the bond, the same one he had felt faintly before, strengthen exponentially. The Dragon King's eyes opened, glowing with a fierce intensity. Child, the king's voice rumbled in his mind, you honor my legacy. You have courage beyond your years. Corrin took a deep breath. I'm here because someone once saved me, you saved my people. I won't let that go to waste. The energy field shivered violently, threatening to collapse. The alien remnants from earlier began to stir in the chamber, drawn to the immense power. Corrin's mind raced. He needed to stabilize the field. He tapped the shard into secondary conduits along the walls, redirecting energy. Sparks and arcs of light flew, but slowly the containment field steadied. The Dragon King's form solidified, wings spreading fully for the first time in what seemed like centuries. Your humanity, your heart, it is what allows this, the king said. His gaze fell on the boy, then on the creature at his side. You are not alone. Courage, cleverness, compassion, these are your weapons. Corrin felt a surge of pride and relief, but no time to linger. From the shadows, a faint tremor suggested new threats approaching. He glanced at the Dragon King. The king's immense form now radiated authority, but he did not move immediately. Instead, he lowered his massive head, whispering into Corrin's mind, lead them to safety, then return. There is more to protect. Corrin nodded, understanding the weight of the responsibility. With the creature beside him, he guided the Dragon King toward a reinforced escape passage. Energy pulses lit the walls, and the path seemed impossibly narrow for such a massive being. Yet, step by step, Corrin's courage and quick thinking made it possible. The alien remnants lashed out, but Corrin anticipated their moves, redirecting energy from the shard and guiding the king through the safest path. Finally, they reached a chamber high above the lower decks. The Dragon King's massive wings unfurled fully, stirring the air in a torrent of wind. He turned to Corrin, scales glinting in the faint light, eyes shining with gratitude. Human child, you have done what none could. You have saved me, and more than that, you have proven the strength of your kind. Corrin's chest tightened. I only did what I had to. That's what anyone should do. The Dragon King lowered his head, touching Corrin lightly with a claw. The touch was warm, comforting, almost like a father's embrace. You are more than any of us imagined, more than I deserved to witness. Suddenly, the shard pulsed violently again, projecting a holographic map of distant galaxies. Red dots marked locations of alien incursions far beyond the citadel. Corrin's eyes widened. The Dragon King's gaze followed his. The threat is not over, the king admitted. There are worlds that still need your kind, your courage, your intelligence. This is only the beginning. Corrin's stomach tightened, but he straightened, gripping the shard. Then we keep going. Whatever it takes. The creature at his side growled softly, ready for what lay ahead. The Dragon King roared, a sound that shook the chamber and resonated through Corrin's bones. Together, human and dragon, boy and creature, they looked out at the stars beyond the citadel, knowing the fight was far from over, but that humans, clever, brave, compassionate humans, could shape the outcome in ways no one else could. And as the camera of the mind's eye might pull back, the red dots flickered, the galaxy awaited, and a subtle new threat pulsed in the distance, hinting at a story far larger than this one. Corrin gripped the shard tighter, determination blazing in his eyes. The adventure was just beginning,